Multipathing in Linux overview. Multipathing provides redundant paths to storage devices SAN or NAS, improving fault tolerance and load balancing. It is commonly used with DM-multipath in RHEL or CentOS and similar distros. Key configuration file /etc/multipath.conf. Main config file to define device blacklist. Path grouping policy. Failover policies. Custom WWIDs or aliases. Defaults in braces user-friendly namespace yes. Find underscore multipath space yes. Calling underscore interval space 5. Blacklist in braces Dave node double quote caret is T in square brackets A close double quote close braces. Multipaths in braces multipath in braces WWID. This is the WWID alias my underscore disk. So this is the WWID /etc/multipath/bindings stores persistent friendly names. Enabling multipath. Install DM-multipath. Sudo yum install device-mapper-multipath-y RHEL or CentOS. Sudo apt install multipath-tools Ubuntu or Debian. Configure and start sudo yum path conf enable with underscore multipath t space y. Sudo systemctl start multipath d sudo systemctl enable multipath t. View configured multipath sudo multipath -ll. How failover works. How failure works. When one path fails, multi-party automatically switches to an available path. Path checking is done at intervals default colon 5 seconds. Failover is instant or delayed depending on policy. Key commands. Command description multipath-ll view active multipath devices and path status. Multipath-v3 detailed multipath information. Multipath D show path details managed by multipath daemon. Multipath capital F flush all multipath devices. Rescan SCSI bus. Rescan attached storage requires package. Multipath D reconfigure. Reload config without restarting service. Simulate failover testing to simulate path failure. Echo and double quote offline. Redirect it to /sys/block /sdx/device/state. Replace SDX with actual path. Check multipath-ll to bring it back. Echo double quote turning. Redirect it to sysblock SDX/device/state. Troubleshooting steps. Issue fix. No detecting multipaths. Check multipath-v3 and ensure SAN zoning and LUNs are visible. Repeated failover, check cabling HP or SAN health check. Logs not updating, check where log messages or journalctl-xc. Unexpected alias, check /etc/multipart.com find bindings file. Best practices always blacklist local disk in /etc/multipart.com. Use wwid or alias for clarity. Confirm multipath D is always running. Systemctl status multipath D. If your /var file system is causing problems on a Linux system, example, full disk system slowness, failed services, there is a detailed troubleshooting guide to identify and resolve the issue. Step-by-step troubleshooting for /var file system issues. Check usage df-h/var. If /var is 100%, services like yum, rsyslog, postfix and even system boots may fail. Find large directories and files. du-h/var pipe sort-hr pipe head-20 or more targeted du-sh/var/asterisk 2 greater than /save/null. So redirect direct to error to /save/null. Pay attention to /var/log, logs, /var/spool, mail or print queues, /var/cache, package manager cache, /var/tmp temporary files, /var/live database or system state data. Cleanup logs, journalctl-disk- usage, sudo journalctl vacuum size is equal to 200 m. Keep only 200 MB logs. Sudo journalctl vacuum time is equal to 7D. Keep logs only for 7 days. Delete all rotated logs manually. Sudo rm-f/var/log/asterisk.gz. Sudo rm-f/var/log/asterisk dot square bracket 0 to 9. Clean package cache save. Sudo yum clean all. Ubuntu or Debian. Sudo apt clean. Check where /var/tmp/var/spool. These are safe to clean if not in active use. Sudo rm-rf/var/tmp/asterisk. Sudo rm-rf/var/spool/mq/asterisk. For old email queues. Look for core dumps or app data. Find /var-type is safe size is plus 100 m. Remove unnecessary .core or large backup or archive files that apps might dump into /var. Move large data out temporary fix if cleanup is not enough. mkdir/home/temp_var mv/var/log/old_app_log.log2/home/temp_var/ ln-home/temp_var/old-app/logs.log2/var/log/old-app/logs.log. Check systemd services affected. Systemctl-fn failed. Restart critical services after cleanup. Sudo systemctl restart rsyslog. Sudo systemctl restart systemd-journald. Sudo systemctl restart nginx or httpd or postfix etc. Add disk space if needed. Resize the partition if using LVM. LV extend -L plus 5G /save/mapper/vgname-var. Resize to fs/save/mapper/vgname-var. Option B, mount another disk to slash where, add new disk, format and mount to slash mnt slash where new, stop services using slash where, copy data, mount permanently by editing slash etc slash fs. Be cautious, never blindly delete files from slash where slash live unless you know the application context. Example, MariaDB, RPMDB. Always backup critical files before cleaning. RHL 7 versus RHL 8 versus RHL 9. Key differences, feature or component. RHL 7, RHL 8, RHL 9 released June 2014, May 2019, May 2022. Kernel version 3.10.x, 4.18.x, 5.14.x. Default file system XFS, XFS, XFS with file system verify support. Verify support. Package manager yum based on RPM v4.11.11 DNF backward compatible yum DNF4 with better performance. Desktop environment Genome 3 or X11, Genome 3.28 on Wayland, Genome 40 plus on Wayland. System net management init, system D latest networking IP tables, network hyphen scripts, NF tables, network manager, NF tables only, no IFCFG scripts. App streams not available. Cockpit web GUI, optional, enabled by default, improved by default. SE Linux default enforcing. Python version 2.7 default, 3.6 default via 2.7 via AppStream, 3.9 default modular streams. Compiler GCC 4.8.x, 8.x, 11.x. Container tools Docker optional. Podman, Builder, Scopio, Podman rootless, Builder, etc. Lifecycle Eval June 2024 extended support until 29 until 2032. Major shifts to RHEL8 introduced app streams, multiple versions of software like Python, Node.js, etc. RHEL9 deprecated legacy tools, IP tables, network hyphen scripts, older YUM. RHEL9 is cloud native ready, improved Podman, image signing and hybrid cloud tools. Summary, RHEL7 legacy system stable for older enterprise environments. RHEL8 transitional release with new tools like DNF, Podman, AppStreams. RHEL9 modern security focused DevOps ready platform with cutting edge kernel and tooling. RHEL7 versus RHEL8 versus RHEL9 networking and security components. Timesync NTPD default, cronED optional. RHEL8 cronED default, NTPD deprecated. RHEL cronED only, NTPD removed. Firewall using IP tables backend. Firewall using NF tables backend default. Firewall with only NF tables backend. Packet filtering IP tables default. NF tables default. IP tables still available. NF tables only. IP tables removed from default. Network scripts slash etc slash sysconfig slash network hyphen scripts. Deprecated, still present, removed completely. TCP underscore appers host dot allow slash deny supported, deprecated, removed. SSH open SSH 6.6 default, open SSH 7.8 plus, open SSH 8.7 plus with stricter defaults. SC Linux enforcing by default, enforcing by default, enforcing by default. Cockpit optional default enabled port 9090 improved by default TLS and security hardened. Audi T available with enhancements, updated version with better performance. PIPS support optional, improved enabled via PIPS Pro setup. Full support, better complaints tools. Failed to ban, available via EPL, available via EPL. Major changes to Note NTP 8 and removed in RHL 9. Cronid is now the only timesync daemon. TCP underscore wrapper slash etc slash host.tolerance slash etc slash host.in is completely removed in RHL 9. Use firewall or NF tables for access control. IP tables is replaced by NF tables as the default packet filtering framework. Network scripts are removed in RHL 9. Use Network Manager plus NMCLA or NMTUI. Recommendation summary use case RHL 7, RHL 8, RHL 9 legacy support best good limited. Security and compliance okay strongest place cloud or DevOps ready. System admin familiarity classic tools NTPD IP tables mixed legacy plus modern fully modern. How did you troubleshoot a Linux server where applications were failing due to slashware full? What is slashware? Slashware stores variable data like logs, mail, and spools. If full, it can crash services. During a server health check, I noticed that slashware was 100% full, causing logs and services like SSH to fail. Clear space quickly and ensure it doesn't happen again. I removed old log files to backup, truncated large logs greater than log file and created a cron job to rotate logs. Also expanded slashware using LVM. Result, the system stabilized and implemented log monitoring to prevent reoccurrence. A Linux server is unreachable via SSH. How do you troubleshoot it? What is SSH? SSH Secure Shell is a protocol for secure remote login over a network situation. A production server became unreachable via SSH. Task regain access urgently to check health system health. Action I use ping telnet and console access to verify network in port 22. Found SSH service was down due to misconfiguration in SSHD underscore config. Corrected it and restarted the service. Result SSH was restored and added a config check. SSHD-T to future deployments. How do you handle multipathing failure in Linux? What is multipathing? Multipathing provides redundancy by creating multiple paths to storage devices. We received alerts about path failure on a production RHL7 server. Ensure data is accessible and restore redundancy. Verified multipath-LL checked messages and DM setup. Restarted multi-party and replaced a faulty HPA. Data access was uninterrupted and multipathing was restored. Describe a situation where you automated a routine task with Shell or Ansible. What is shell scripting or Ansible? Shell scripts automate OS level tasks. Ansible automates provisioning, configuration, and deployment. Situation user account creation was manual and error prone. Automate user task. Automate user provisioning. Created a shell script to add users in bulk and integrated it with Ansible playbooks to push all Linux nodes. Result reduced provisioning time by 70%, improved consistency, and eliminated manual errors. Have you ever worked with Red Hat Satellite? Why do you use it for? What is Red Hat Satellite? A system management platform to deploy, configure, and update Red Hat systems. Situation we had to manage patching for over 100 RHL servers, centralized patching and subscription management, implemented Red Hat Satellite to manage lifecycle environments, created activation keys and scheduled patching jobs. Cut patching time from days to hours may increase compliance. Tell me how you handled a situation involving DNS or DHCP issues. What is DNS or DHCP? Domain name. DNS resolves domain names. DHCP assigns IP addresses dynamically. Users reported host name resolution and IP assignment failures. Restore network services. Restarted named and DHCP verified /etc/resolve.conf find logs found a DNS zone file syntax error. Corrected it and restarted services. Result network access was restored within 15 minutes. How you performed voice hardening? How? What is OS hardening? Securing the OS by minimizing vulnerabilities, disabling unnecessary services, and applying best practices. Situation: a compliance audit revealed security gaps in our Linux fleet. Harden all Linux servers. Disabled unused services, configured firewalls. Disabled unused services, configured firewall, set file permissions, enabled audit D, and enforced password policies. Used Ansible to apply changes across systems. Result: passed security audit and improved system baseline security. Explain a time you dealt with server hardware failure. Example: Dell server. What is ID rack? Integrated Dell remote access controller. Provides out-of-band management for Dell servers. Answer: situation: a server failed to boot after a power cycle. Identify and resolve the issue remotely. Accessed ID rack, checked logs, found a failed disk, replaced the disk and rebuilt RAID using Dell tools. Server was restored without physical access, avoiding downtime. The server failed to boot after a power cycle. Task: identify and resolve the issue remotely. Action: accessed ID rack, checked logs, found a failed disk, replaced the disk and rebuilt RAID using Dell tools. Result: server was restored without physical access, avoiding downtime. How do you monitor and escalate job failures in batch processing? What is batch processing? Tracking the execution of scheduled jobs. Example: cron, autosys for success or failure. Answer: business critical jobs were failing overnight without notification. Task: improve monitoring and escalation. Action: configured Nagios alerts for job exit codes. Set up email or SMS alerts for failures and created an escalation matrix. Result: reduce undetected failures, faster recovery. What is IBM BigFix and how do you use it? What is BigFix? IBM BigFix is a patching and endpoint management tool. Situation: needed a scalable patch management tool for Linux or Windows endpoints. Ensure patch compliance across 200 plus systems. Deployed BigFix agents, created baselines and scheduled patch jobs with minimal disruption. Achieved 98% compliance within 2 weeks to exclude certain packages from being updated during patching on a RHCL or CentOS system. You typically edit /etc/m.com. How to exclude packages from updates? Open the file /etc/m.com in a text editor with root privileges. For example, be sudo vi /etc/m.com. Add or modify the exclude directive listing the packages you want to exclude. For example, exclude is equal to package 1 space package to asterisk kernel asterisk. You can use wildcards asterisk to match multiple packages. This will prevent YAM and DNF in newer versions from updating those packages. To exclude kernel and HTTPD packages, exclude is equal to kernel asterisk HTTPD asterisk. Additional note: this applies globally for all YAM or DNF commands unless overridden. You can also exclude packages temporarily during a single command with yum update --- exclude is equal to package 1, package 2. If you're using RHL 8 or 9 with DNF, the same slash etc slash m.conf file applies. DNF is backward compatible with mconfig. Task summary task file editor. Exclude packages globally slash etc slash m.conf. When a user reports their application isn't coming up after patching where some packages got updated, here are key troubleshooting steps and reasons. Possible causes: updated packages caused compatibility issues. Libraries, dependencies, or runtime environments, example Python, Java, web server, might have changed. Config files might have been overwritten or reset. Service or application configuration changed. Services might need restart or reload after patch. SE Linux or firewall policies might have tightened. Custom exclusions: missing critical application packages or modules were updated unintentionally. File permissions on ownership changes. Systemd or init scripts modified. Troubleshooting steps: check service status and logs. Sudo systemctl status your app service. Sudo generalctl-u your app service-b. Check application logs. Locate your app logs. Example /var/log/ your app.log and inspect for errors. Verify package versions. Check which packages updated recently. Sudo yum info last or sudo rpm-qa-last pipette-n20. Rollback or reinstall specific packages. If a package update broke the app, consider rolling back. Sudo yum downgrade package name. Check configuration files. If config files are overwritten, restore from backups or from or .rpm new files. ls/etc/urapp/ asterisk dot rpm new. Exclude critical packages in future patching. Add critical app packages to /etc/m.conf exclude list. Best practices to avoid breakage during patching: maintain backups of config files, test patching on a staging system, exclude critical application packages if needed, automate service restart post patch, notify users of maintenance window. If patching of a physical server fails and causes issues, restoring it depends on your backup and recovery strategy. Here are common approaches: restore from backup, full system backup. If you have a full disk or system image backup, using tools like Clonezilla, Acronis, or enterprise backup solutions, restore the entire system to the pre-patch state. File level backup: restore critical files, configs, and application data from backup. Rollback using package manager. On Linux, RHL or CentOS, you can try to roll back packages updated during patching if supported. Yum history undo transaction underscore ID. This attempts to undo the package updates done by a specific transaction. Use snapshots if applicable. If the server uses LVM snapshots, storage level snapshots, or VM snapshots for physical virtual setups, revert to a snapshot taken before patching. Manual repair: boot into rescue mode or single user mode. Manually fix broken packages, services, or config files. Reinstall or downgrade packages as needed. Rebuild as a last resort, reinstall the OS and restore the data and configurations from backups. Best practices to avoid patch failures. Always take full backups before patching. Test patches in staging environment first. Schedule maintenance windows with rollback plans. Use configuration management tools to automate recovery. LSOF list of open files is a powerful Linux or Unix command line utility to see which files are opened by which processes. Since almost everything in Linux is a file, regular files, directories, network sockets, devices, pipes, etc. LSOF helps troubleshoot many issues like file in use, network port usage, and more. Basic LSOF usage. LSOF list all open files on the system very well goes. Common LSOF examples. Command description. LSOF part to file. Show processes using the specific file. LSOF-I list all network connections TCP or UDP. LSOF-I:80 show processes using port 80 HTTP. LSOF-U username list all open files by specific user. LSOF-PPID list all files opened by a specific process ID. LSOF plus capital D slash var slash log list all files opened under directory recursively. LSOF-T-I:22 return only PIDs using port 22. Useful for killing. LSOF/tmp/file.txt define which process is using a particular file. Backout LSOF-5 grep deleted. Kill a process holding a file. If a file is busy and you want to find and kill the process, LSOF/part to file. Note the PID from output. Kill-9 PID or in one command kill-9 $parenthesis LSOF-T part to file. Show network connections with details. LSOF-I-N capital P-L prevents hostname resolution faster capital P prevents port to service name resolution. Help for man page LSOF-L man LSOF. If your Linux server enters kernel panic after patching, it means the kernel or critical system components fail to boot properly. Here is a step-by-step guide to recover and troubleshoot. What to do when Linux server enters kernel panic after patching. Boot into rescue or emergency mode. Reboot the server at the grub menu. Press E to edit the boot entry. Find the line starting with Linux or Linux 16. Append systemd.unit is equal to rescue.target or single at the end of the line. Press Ctrl X or F10 to boot. This boots into rescue mode with minimal services. Check boot logs. Once in rescue mode, check logs for kernel panic reason. General CTL-XP DMS 5 plus. Look for errors related to kernel modules, disk or file systems. Boot using older kernel at grub menu or select advanced. Choose a previously working kernel version to boot. If successful, you can uninstall or fix the problematic kernel. Check for missing or corrupted kernel modules. Kernel panic can happen if critical kernel modules are missing or mismatched. Reinstall kernel packages if needed. Reinstall kernel-core, kernel-modules. Check disk and file system. Kernel panic may be caused by corrupted file systems. Run file system checks after unmounting or from rescue media. fsck-f/save/sdxn. Restore backup or rollback patch. Use your backup or snapshot to restore pre-patch state or rollback kernel packages with mhistory undo transaction underscore ID update kernel after fixing kernel or boot config grub2-mp config -o/boot/grub2/grub.chg. Reboot and monitor reboot. Check if kernel panic occurs. Prevention tips: always keep at least two working kernels installed. Test patches on staging before production. Have a recovery plan with backups and rescue media ready. If your Anytime FFS is corrupted or causing boot failures, here is how to troubleshoot and fix it. What is Anytime FS? Anytime FS is the initial RAM file system loaded at boot time. It contains necessary drivers and scripts to mount the real root file system. Symptoms of corrupted Anytime FS: kernel panic during boot, missing Anytime FS or cannot find Anytime FS errors, boot stuck at Anytime FS prompt, unable to mount root file system. How to troubleshoot and fix corrupted file Anytime FS? Boot into rescue mode. Use your Linux installation media or bootloader's rescue mode. Add rd.break or init is equal to /bin/ss to the kernel boot parameters via grub. Rebuild Anytime FS on RHL or CentOS or Fedora. Identify your current kernel version. Uname-r. Regenerate Anytime FS. Dracode-4/boot/anytime FS dollar in parentheses uname-r.ing dollar in parentheses uname space -r. Or if you want to rebuild for a specific kernel version, dracode-4/boot slash anytime fs kernel version.img/kernel version. Check disk usage. Ensure /boot has enough free space to create anytime fs df-s/boot. Clean old kernels if needed. Package-cleanup old kernels-count is equal to 2. Verify kernel and modules. Make sure the kernel and kernel modules packages are properly installed. RPM-QA type grep kernel reinstall if necessary. Reinstall kernel-core kernel-modules update grub after regenerating anytime fs update grub. Grub2 if an empty config -o/boot/grub2/grub.cfg. Reboot and test. Reboot check if boot proceeds normally. Additional tips: if using LVM or RAID, ensure related drivers are included in anytime FS. Check /etc/trackcode.conf/etc/trackcode/trackcode.com.d/asterisk for custom configs affecting anytime FS. To scan length, logical unit numbers or a Linux file system, RHL or CentOS or boot, especially after new lengths are added from a SAN or storage area. We can follow these steps. Method 1: using rescan-scsi-bus.sh is recommended. Install the required tools on RHL or CentOS. Install sg3_utils-y. On Ubuntu or Debian apt install sg3-utils-y. Run the rescan script. Rescan-scsi-bus.sh-a. Options: adds new lengths, -r removes missing lengths, -s scans existing lengths. Manual scan using echo to sysfs. Identify your host bus adapter sp ls/sys/scsi/class/scsi_host. Example: output: :0 host 1 host 2. Rescan each SCSI host: for host in /et/scsi/cas/scsi_host/host #, echo and double quote triple hyphen redirect it to $host/scan. Then this tells the kernel to rescan for new lengths on all SCSI targets. Multipath optional if using DM-multipath. If you're using multipath-v2 to reload the multipath configuration, multipath-r verify new lengths, check new devices. LSPLK or FT-or SCSI devices. FT is LSSCI, LSSCI. Option persistent device naming. Use multipath-ll to identify multi-part devices like /t/mapper/empathx. Replacing an SFP switch mode power supply in a server or desktop system must be done carefully to avoid hardware damage or injury. Precautions before you start. Power off the system. Shut down the system gracefully. Disconnect power cables, unplug the power cord from the wall outlet and UPS. Wait 1 to 2 minutes, let capacitors discharge. Use anti-static precautions, wear an strap or ground yourself by touching metal. Steps to replace SMPS, open the case, use a screwdriver to remove the side panel, desktop or rear or top panel, server chassis. Disconnect all SMPS connectors, disconnect cables going to motherboard, 24-pin ATX to plus 4 or 8-pin CPU, HDDs or SSDs, SATA power, graphics card, PCIe, 6 or 8-pin if any, optical drives or fans, Molex or SATA, unscrew and remove old SMPS, usually 4 screws at the rear of the PSU. Install the new SMPS, slide the new SMPS into place, screw it in securely, reconnect power cables, reconnect all cables to the respective components, 24-pin to motherboard, 4 or 8-pin to CPU, SATA, Molex to drives, PCI to GPU if needed. Double check all connections, ensure no loose wires and proper cable management. Close the case and power on, close the panel, connect the power cable and turn on the system. Check fans and LED indicators for activity. Post replacement checks. BIOS boots normally, no beeps or alarms. Drives and peripherals are recognized OS load successfully. If always replace with an SMPS of equal or higher wattage and efficiency rating. Example 80 plus bronze or gold. Replacing a failed disk depends on the server storage setup. Example RAID or standalone. Here is how to handle it in both scenarios and whether downtime is needed. If the disk is in a RAID array, example 815610, downtime not required, hot swappable disk. Most enterprise services like servers like Dell, HP, IBM support hot swapping so you can replace the disk without shutting down. Steps to check RAID status. Use tools like Mega CLI, Star CLI, HPSU CLI, MDADM or your RAID controller's UI. Identify the failed disk. Use RAID tool or LED indicators blinking amber or red on the failed disk. Confirm with LS-Fuzzy, LSPLK or Smart CTL. Pull out the failed disk. Gently remove the disk. It is usually labeled or as an amber indicator. Insert the new disk, same size and type. The RAID controller should auto-detect and start rebuilding. Monitor rebuild progress again via RAID tools or vendor-specific utilities. If the disk is not in RAID standalone disk, downtime required. If it is a boot disk or a data disk without redundancy, you must back up any data if still accessible. If the disk is not in RAID standalone disk, downtime required. If it is a boot disk or data disk without redundancy, you must back up any data if it is still accessible. Shut down the server, replace the failed disk physically, reinstall OS or restore from backup or image, configure partitions and mount points. Linux commands to identify disk values, lsplk list all block devices, smart ctl-a/sdx detailed smart info, dmesh pipegrep st check disk input or output errors cat /proc/mdstat for software read. Summary downtime needed notes. RAID with hot swap, no replace, live rebuild, auto or manual. RAID without hot swap is server shutdown required. Standalone disk is backup plus reinstall or restore required. You can patch a system, especially Linux server, multiple ways depending on OS type, RHEL, Ubuntu, etc. Environment, standalone, satellite managed, cloud, etc. Criticality and downtime acceptance. Here are the main methods of patching a system. Manual patch using package manager. RHL or CentOS M update all packages, M update package name, update specific package. RHL 8 plus or 9 plus DNF update, Ubuntu or Debian app. APT update, double ampersand APT upgrade. Automated patch by cron or script. Schedule regular updates using cron. 03 asterisk asterisk 0 slash USR slash pin slash M update hyphen Y. Minutes, hours, day of month, day of week. Append it to var log M hyphen auto dot log. For APT 04 asterisk asterisk 0 update double ampersand APT upgrade even validate satellite or foreman. Centralized patching for many RHL systems. Set pace, patch baseline, schedule jobs, view compliance. Useful for enterprise environments, cloud native patch management, AWS Systems Manager, Patch Manager, Azure Update Management, Google OS Patch Management automates OS patching across cloud instances using configuration management tools Ansible-name patch all servers host or task space name run updates m name single quote asterisk state latest puppet or chef or salt stack patch policies and controlled rollouts offline or ISO based patching mount DVD ISO or internal repo useful in isolated or secure environments mount inferno loop ISO slash MNTM hyphen disable repos equal to single quote asterisk hyphen enable repos equal to double quotes local update kernel live patching tools like Kpatch or Oracle ksplice patch kernel without rebooting critical systems rollback aware patching use DNF history rollback RHL8 or M history undo also support snapshots via LVM timeshift or via BTRFS or Ubuntu summary table method use case downtime manual M or APT single systems ad hoc optional cron or scripted regular automatic optional satellite or foreman enterprise multiple servers optional Ansible or Puppet or Chef automation multi-node control optional cloud patch manager AWS or Azure or Google cloud optional ICE or offline patching air gapped or secure environment yes live kernel patching critical systems needing uptime no rollback aware patching saver updates with undo capability optional. In XFS, you cannot shrink the size of the file system because of the way the XFS file system is designed and managed internally. XFS does not support shrinking because it pre-allocates metadata structures across the file system, making files a safe reduction of size technically complex and unsafe explanation. Metadata layout XFS spreads critical metadata across entire volume during creation. Shrinking would risk corrupting that metadata. No built-in string support. Unlike ext4 which supports both grow and shrink, XFS underscore grow fs can only increase the size of an XFS file system. Enterprise stability XFS is designed for high performance stable large scale systems, not frequent resizing or shrinking. What you can do instead backup plus recreate plus restore. Backup data example with rsync or tar. Recreate the partition with a smaller size format with XFS. Restore the data S star style situation. A server had a 1 TB XFS file system on slash data, but only 100 GB was used. Task T. Management asked to reduce the partition to reclaim unused disk. Action A explained that XFS does not support shrinking, so I planned a backup restore method. I used rsync to backup slash data, unmounted and recreated the file system with a smaller partition, reformatted it as XFS and restored the data. Our result, the disk space was optimized without data loss and I ensured future partitions were sized more appropriately.